The first time I saw Jason, he was painting in the park, his canvas a riot of colors that seemed to dance in the sunlight. I remember thinking how free he looked, how unburdened by the expectations that weighed on me. My name is Scott, and at 35, I've built what many would call a perfect life. I'm a software engineer, living in a cozy suburban home in Seattle with my wife, Brianna. She's a vibrant real estate agent, and together, we've crafted a life that's the envy of our friends. Our marriage, now in its 10th year, is filled with laughter, shared dreams, and mutual support. But there's a part of me, a part I've kept hidden, yearning for something different, something I've never dared to explore. Brianna and I met Jason through mutual friends, and he quickly became an integral part of our social circle. An artist by trade, Jason has this charismatic, free-spirited aura about him. His laugh is infectious, and he has this way of making everyone feel seen, truly seen. I've always admired how open he is about his sexuality, something I've never been able to discuss openly. Our gatherings were always lively with Jason around. He'd bring his latest artwork, and we'd all marvel at his creativity. One evening, after a few glasses of wine, the conversation turned to deeper topics. Jason was sharing stories of his adventures, his voice animated, his eyes sparkling with life. I found myself hanging on to every word, feeling a pull towards him that was more than just admiration. It was during one of these nights, as the party dwindled down to just the three of us, that the air changed. Jason was showing us a new piece he'd been working on, a portrait that seemed to capture the essence of longing. As he explained the emotions behind his brushstrokes, I felt Brianna's hand on my knee, a gentle reminder of our reality. But my eyes were locked on Jason, on the way his lips moved, the way his hands gestured with such passion. There was a moment, just a fleeting second, when our eyes met, and something unspoken passed between us. It was like a spark, igniting something deep within me. My heart raced, and I felt a warmth spread through me, a desire I hadn't acknowledged before. But what happens when the lines between admiration and desire blur? When the comfort of a known life meets the thrill of the unknown. That night, as Jason left, I stood at the door, watching him walk away, feeling the weight of my hidden desires pressing against the walls I'd built around them. And now, here I am, caught between the life I've built and the life I've never dared to live, wondering what it would be like to step into the unknown, to explore the part of me that's been yearning for something different. One evening, Brianna had to attend a late-night client meeting, leaving me to entertain Jason, who had come over for dinner. The house felt different without her, quieter, more intimate. We decided to watch a movie, something light to fill the silence. But as the night deepened, our conversation turned more personal. Jason shared stories of his past relationships, his struggles, and his joys. His voice, usually so vibrant, took on a softer tone as he spoke of heartbreak and the search for connection. I found myself opening up about my own life, the pressures of work, the unspoken parts of my identity. It was strange, this feeling of vulnerability, like peeling back layers I hadn't even acknowledged were there. We talked about the expectations society places on us, the masks we wear, and the freedom Jason seemed to embody so effortlessly. The movie ended, but our conversation didn't. We moved to the kitchen, where Jason helped me clean up. There was something comforting about the routine of it, the clinking of dishes, the warm glow of the kitchen light. As we worked side by side, our elbows occasionally brushing, I felt a tension, a charged silence that seemed to hold more than just the remnants of our dinner. There was a moment, a pause in our conversation, where our eyes met. It was like time itself took a breath. Jason's eyes, usually so full of life, now held a depth, a question. I could feel my heart pounding, a mix of fear and excitement. Was it just a moment of connection, or was it something more? The air between us seemed to thicken, charged with an unspoken understanding. I could see the pulse in his neck, the slight part of his lips, and I wondered what it would be like to close the distance, to explore this newfound desire. But then, the reality of my life, my marriage, my identity, all came rushing back. I turned away first, breaking the spell, focusing on the mundane task of rinsing a plate. But the moment lingered, a silent question hanging in the air. What was that look? Was it just a fleeting connection, or was it an invitation to something more? The kitchen felt too small, too warm, and I was acutely aware of every sound, every movement, as if the world had narrowed down to just us in this moment with this question. Days turned into weeks, and Jason and I found ourselves spending more time together. We started going for runs, grabbing coffee, and even working on a small art project together. The more time we spent, the more I felt drawn to him, not just as a friend, but in a way that was new and confusing to me. One rainy afternoon, after a particularly intense run, we were back at my place, both of us soaked and laughing. The laughter died down, and in that quiet, Jason leaned in and kissed me. It was gentle, exploratory, and it ignited something within me I had never acknowledged. The kiss was soft, a whisper of what could be, and it left me breathless, my mind racing with the implications of this new territory. We pulled back, our breaths mingling in the cool air of my living room. Jason's eyes searched mine, looking for a sign, a confirmation that this was okay. I could see the vulnerability there, the same uncertainty that mirrored my own. "I'm sorry if that was too forward," Jason said, his voice barely above a whisper, his hand still resting lightly on my arm. I shook my head, my heart pounding in my chest. "No, it's fine," I managed to say, though my voice betrayed the storm of emotions inside me. "It's just unexpected." The room felt charged, every sound amplified, the drip of rain outside, the soft hum of the refrigerator, our uneven breathing. I was caught between the comfort of my known life and the allure of the unknown, the unexplored part of me that Jason seemed to awaken. We sat there, the space between us filled with questions and possibilities. Jason broke the silence first. "Scott, I didn't mean to complicate things. I feel something here, something real." His words echoed the turmoil in my heart. I wanted to explore this, to understand what it meant, but the weight of my marriage, my commitments, they were like anchors holding me back. "I need some time," I finally said, my voice steady despite the chaos inside. "To think about this, about us." Jason nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Of course, take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." The rest of the evening was spent in a kind of limbo, talking about everything but what had just happened. We ordered pizza, watched some mindless TV, but the kiss lingered in the air, an unspoken promise or perhaps a warning. As the night deepened, Jason prepared to leave. At the door, he turned to me, his expression earnest. "Whatever you decide, Scott, know that I'm here, and I respect whatever choice you make." I watched him walk away, the rain having turned into a gentle drizzle, his figure fading into the night. The door closed with a soft click, and I was alone with my thoughts, the echo of his kiss still on my lips. The next days were a blur. I couldn't shake the feeling of his touch, the warmth of his breath. My life with Brianna continued as usual, but now, every moment felt like a performance, a play where I was both actor and audience, watching myself navigate through the motions of a life that suddenly seemed less certain. I found myself at the park where I first saw Jason painting, sitting on the same bench, watching the world go by. The colors of the canvas he had worked on that day seemed to mock me now, vibrant and free, while I felt trapped in a monochrome existence. The question hung over me like a storm cloud. What would happen next? Would this be a one-time thing, or the beginning of something more? The unknown stretched out before me, a path I had never dared to tread, filled with both fear and a thrilling sense of possibility. And there, amidst the rain-soaked grass and the quiet of the park, I realized that the choice was mine, and mine alone, to make. The kiss with Jason became a secret I carried, a thrilling yet terrifying secret. I was torn between the life I had built with Brianna and this new, unexplored part of myself. The guilt was overwhelming, but so was the desire. I tried to push Jason away, to maintain the status quo, but the pull was too strong. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at work, I found myself at Jason's apartment. We talked, we laughed, and then, without any words, we moved closer. This time, it wasn't just a kiss. It was an exploration of passion, of a part of me I had kept locked away. His touch was electric, igniting a fire that I had only ever imagined in the deepest recesses of my mind. We moved to his bedroom, the space filled with the scent of his paint and the soft glow of his art. The world outside ceased to exist as we shed our clothes, each layer revealing more of ourselves, not just physically, but emotionally. Our connection was intense, a dance of desire and discovery. Jason's hands were gentle yet firm, guiding me through this new territory. His lips found mine again, and the kiss deepened, a silent conversation of longing and acceptance. We explored each other, the physicality of our connection a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil brewing within me. As we lay there, the afterglow of our intimacy wrapping around us like a warm blanket, I felt a mix of euphoria and dread. Jason's fingers traced patterns on my skin, each touch a reminder of the line I had crossed. "I've wanted this for so long," Jason whispered, his voice a mix of satisfaction and vulnerability. I turned to look at him, his face illuminated by the moonlight seeping through the curtains. "I know," I replied, my voice barely a whisper. "But what does this mean for us? For my marriage?" The question hung heavy in the air, the reality of my life with Brianna crashing back like a wave. I had always prided myself on my loyalty, my commitment, but here I was in another man's bed, feeling things I had never felt before. Jason propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at me with those eyes that seemed to see right through me. "I don't know, Scott, but I do know that what we have here, it's real. It's not just a fleeting moment." I nodded, the weight of his words settling over me. The thrill of the forbidden, the rush of something new, it was intoxicating. But the implications were vast, a potential storm that could upend everything I knew. "I need to think," I said, sitting up, the cool air hitting my skin, a stark reminder of the world outside this bubble of intimacy. "I need to figure out what this means for me, for Brianna." Jason sat up too, his expression one of understanding mixed with a hint of sadness. "Take all the time you need. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." We dressed in silence, the earlier passion now a quiet undercurrent. At the door, Jason pulled me into a hug, his embrace strong and comforting. "Whatever you decide, Scott, I'll respect it." I left his apartment, the night air crisp against my flushed skin. The walk back to my car was a blur, my mind racing with thoughts of what had just happened, what it could mean. The streetlights cast long shadows, mirroring the shadows of doubt and desire within me. As I drove home, the familiar streets of Seattle felt like a different world, one where I was no longer just Scott, the software engineer with a perfect life, but someone who had stepped into a realm of uncertainty and exploration. The house was dark when I arrived, Brianna already asleep, her gentle breathing a stark contrast to the storm inside me. I slipped into bed beside her, her warmth a reminder of the life we had built together. But as I lay there, staring at the ceiling, Jason's touch lingered on my skin, his words echoing in my mind. The kiss with Jason wasn't just a kiss. It was a gateway to a part of me I had always kept hidden. And now, the door was open, and I had to decide whether to walk through it or shut it tight. The affair with Jason continued, each encounter more intense than the last. The thrill of secrecy, the rush of forbidden passion, it was all-consuming. But with every stolen moment, the reality of my situation began to weigh heavily on me. The guilt, the lies, they gnawed at my conscience, creating a chasm between the life I lived and the life I was leading. One night, after another secret meeting with Jason, I came home to find Brianna waiting up for me. Her eyes were red, her expression one of confusion and hurt. She had sensed something was off, and she confronted me. "Scott, where have you been?" Her voice was steady, but I could hear the tremor of emotion beneath. I stood there, my heart racing, the weight of my secret pressing down on me. I knew this moment would come, but now that it was here, I felt unprepared, exposed. I was with Jason. I started, my voice barely above a whisper. Brianna's eyes narrowed, searching mine for the truth she feared. "Just with Jason? Or is there more?" The room was silent, the air thick with the weight of my confession. I took a deep breath, feeling the walls I had built around my secret begin to crumble. There's more, I admitted, the words heavy on my tongue. I've been seeing him, not just as friends. Her face fell, a mix of pain and disbelief washing over her features. Seeing him? What does that mean, Scott? I swallowed hard, the truth clawing its way out. It means I've been intimate with him. I've developed feelings for him, feelings I've never explored before. The silence that followed was deafening. Brianna sat down, her hands covering her face, her body trembling slightly. I moved closer, wanting to comfort her, but I felt like an intruder in my own home. I didn't mean for this to happen. I continued, my voice breaking. I've been hiding this part of me, this part I've never acknowledged, not even to myself. But with Jason, it's like I've found something I didn't know I was missing. She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. And what about us, Scott? What about our marriage? Our life together? The question hung between us, a chasm that seemed impossible to bridge. I don't know, I confessed, the truth bitter on my lips. I love you, Brianna. I love what we built. But there's this part of me that's been yearning for something else, something I've never dared to explore until now. She stood up, her movements slow, deliberate. You've been living a lie, Scott. With me, with yourself. How long has this been going on? Too long. I said, the admission a release and a condemnation. I'm sorry, Brianna. I never wanted to hurt you. Her eyes, filled with a storm of emotions, met mine. But you did. You've shattered everything we've built. And now I need to know, what do you want? Do you want to leave? To be with him? The question was a cliffhanger, the end of our marriage hanging in the balance. I looked at her, at the life we had shared, the dreams we had woven together. And then I thought of Jason, of the freedom, the passion, the unexplored part of myself he had awakened. I don't know, I said, my voice a mix of despair and honesty. I need time to figure this out, to understand what I truly want, what's best for all of us. Brianna turned away, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Take your time, Scott. But know this, while you're figuring it out, I'm here, trying to piece together what's left of our life. The room felt colder, the distance between us vast. I watched her walk away, her figure disappearing into the shadows of our home, leaving me alone with my thoughts, my guilt, and the question of what would come next. Would this be the end of our marriage? Brianna's reaction was not what I expected. Instead of anger, there was a profound sadness, a sense of betrayal, but also a surprising understanding. She admitted she had felt our connection waning, though she hadn't known why. We talked for hours about our marriage, about honesty, about love. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, as she said, I've known something was off, Scott. I just didn't want to believe it. Her eyes searched mine, looking for the man she married, the one she thought she knew. I thought we were happy, but now I see there were parts of you I never knew. I reached for her hand, but she pulled away, not out of anger, but out of a need to protect herself. I'm sorry, Brianna. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't even understand it myself until he showed me a part of myself I had ignored. She nodded, her gaze dropping to the floor. I understand in a way, but understanding doesn't make it hurt any less. We've built so much together, and now, what do we do with this? The days that followed were a blur of emotions. We decided to seek counseling, not just to salvage our marriage, but to understand ourselves better. Jason and I agreed to step back, to give space for healing. In the counselor's office, the air was thick with the weight of our confessions. Dr. Ellis, with her calm demeanor, guided us through the labyrinth of our feelings. Scott, tell me about your relationship with Jason, she prompted. It's different, I started, my voice shaky. With him, I feel like I can explore parts of myself I've always kept hidden. It's not just physical. It's like he sees me, really sees me. Brianna listened, her face a mask of pain, but also curiosity. And with me, Scott? What did you feel with me? I looked at her, the woman who had been my partner, my confidant. With you, it's comfort, stability, love. But there's this part of me, this yearning for something else, something I've never dared to explore until now. The sessions were painful, filled with tears and difficult conversations, but they also brought a new level of honesty to our relationship. We learned to redefine our love, to include space for personal growth and truth. One evening, after a particularly intense session, Brianna and I sat in our living room, the silence between us less heavy than before. "I've been thinking," she began, her voice steady. "Maybe we can find a way to coexist with this new part of you. Maybe we can redefine what our marriage means." I looked at her, surprised by her resilience. "You mean you'd be willing to try?" She sighed, a mix of resignation and hope. "I love you, Scott. I love what we've built. But I also see now that you've been living a part of your life in the shadows. If we can find a way to bring that part into the light, maybe we can heal together." The journey was far from over, but there was a glimmer of hope. Jason, understanding the gravity of our situation, kept his distance, giving us the space we needed. Yet his presence lingered in my thoughts, a constant reminder of the unexplored territories of my heart. As the weeks turned into months, our relationship evolved. We started to communicate more openly, not just about our feelings, but about our needs, our desires. The love we shared transformed, becoming less about possession and more about mutual respect and understanding. But the question remained, like a shadow over our future. What would the future hold for Scott, Brianna, and Jason? Would they find a new balance, or would this be the end of an era? The path ahead was uncertain, filled with potential for both reconciliation and further heartache. But for now, we were walking it together, step by step, learning to navigate the complexities of love, identity, and truth. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.